All right, we're back with the VR6 today, and finally going to be installing the EMU Black. And we also got plug and play harness right here, and we got a boost controller. I'm going to put the fuel pump in today, finally get the exhaust in, and a few other things. And I also got an intake temp sensor I got to put in as well, and a few other things. So it's definitely going to be a bunch of stuff today, but yeah, let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do, obviously, just put this on. Pretty simple. Clips right into the factory wiring harness, and then go ahead and clip this side in to the EMU Black, and I'll push it in there. And then we also have to run this power wire to the battery, which should be pretty simple, shouldn't be too difficult. Just going to go ahead and put it on the terminal or in the fuse box right here onto one of those. So it already has a fuse built into it, so I probably don't have to put it into the fuse. Probably just put it onto this terminal, but it might look cleaner if I put it in there. All right, so as you can see, got the plug and play adapter clipped in. Same with the EMU Black into this right there. And haven't attached this wire yet, but did go ahead and attach the micro USB cable. And I ran it through this little grommet back here. It's hard to see, but I ended up ripping out that heat shield or sound deadening stuff. I don't really care. Obviously this thing's gonna be loud either way. That's not gonna make it any louder, but basically ran it out through up there, and now I got my USB cable to plug into the EMU Black, so that's good. I did pull the glove box off. I've already had that off, so I didn't have to pull it off right now, but you guys probably will have to pull it off to get to that grommet. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead, run this wire down along there into the battery. Another thing I gotta do is attach a hose to right there for the mass air pressure sensor, which is built into the EMU Black, and just attach it to this one right here. I don't think that's gonna be long enough, but just put another line on it, should be long enough. Run into there, and pretty much the EMU Black install is done. It's pretty simple. I just have to do the boost controller, intake temp sensor, and all that fun stuff so it can run right. All right, so went ahead and got the wire, the power wire for the EMU Black onto the battery terminal. We also got the hose for the boost put into intake manifold right there. And we also got the boost controller set up. So basically just bent this bracket at a 90 to put it right there. I got this one going to this fitting right here. I just welded that on. And that's because usually you do it to the turbo, but this eBay turbo didn't come with a fitting. I had to drill it out, and I forgot to. Instead of taking the turbo off just to drill that out, it does the same thing if you just put it right here. So went ahead and did that. And then this one goes to the top of the wastegate, as you can see. And I still have to wire it in to the EMU Black. I already went ahead and made the connector for it, but so looking at the sheet that they give you with the EMU Black, I'm gonna connect it to one of these auxiliary ports, and I'm guessing right now probably number 4, because secondary crankcase breather is not being used anymore, so it shouldn't be a problem. And you can see auxiliary 4 is G20. Go over here to G20, auxiliary 4, so should be good to do that. Tap it in to there with the boost controller, and the other one goes to ground. All right, so we went ahead, got this thing wired in. I used the ground right there, and then I went ahead and tapped into G20 on the EMU Black. So boost controller is all set now, and I also went ahead and finished running the line for the power steering reservoir right there. And we also went ahead and got our brake booster hose on, and we did a few other things. But now I'm gonna go ahead and put the fuel pump in. Pretty much plug and play, comes with all the stuff. And so to get to the fuel pump, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the back seats. Of course, I have a bunch of parts in the back, so I get all that stuff out. Since my interior is pretty much apart, as you can see, gotta put all that stuff back in. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rear seats, and then under there is the fuel pump. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. All right, so went ahead and lifted the bottom of the seat out of my way, and I also took that cover off. There's this little flap on that cover. 3 Phillip head screws, and you can go ahead and twist this off, and also obviously pull out 2 fuel lines and the connector, and then you can pull this whole sending unit right out. All right, so as you can see, you've got the sending unit out, and basically you gotta go ahead and do is take off the 4 torque screws on the back side right here. Once you do that, you also got to pull off this main feed hose off of the fuel pump. As you can see, I just ended up cutting it off because I have a new one anyways. And once you do that, you can go ahead and unclip this from the top of here, and you can pull this thing out. And I got the new one right here using Beachworks 265 liter per hour. Should be plenty for what I need for now. But I got to go ahead and put the new O-ring on, and it basically just slides right in. You gotta align the little hole, that one at the bottom, and reassemble all this. You can throw it back in the car. All right, so as you can see, got this thing back together. Got the new fuel pump in. Old one's right there, and now we can go ahead and throw this thing back in the car. So I got the pump in now. Got this thing tightened up, and now I can just go ahead, put this cover back on, put the seat back down, and fuel pump is all set. All right, so next day now, and last night went ahead and got the fuel pump in, as I showed you guys. And today, got our intake temp sensor to install. So pretty straightforward. Just gonna make the 2 connectors, or pins into the connector, add some wire on the end, and we should just be able to attach it to the wire on this. That's for intake temp sensor, or intake temp. And the other one obviously goes to ground. So pretty straightforward. Once we do that, should be able to hook it up in the EMU Black, or it automatically hooks up. And this thing will be all set. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put that exhaust on, or the downpipe on. Finally just finished it up. Took forever, but it's finally all set. So I can put it on, put the O2 sensor in, make sure this thing runs right, show you guys. All right, so I went ahead and just screwed in the air intake sensor into the intercooler piping. I had already welded a bung on, and didn't include this or to record it, but went ahead and got the 550cc injectors in. Had to cut them, crimp in the new EV14 connectors, I believe is what they were. And what I did was, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but basically I took the caps off of the stock injectors. As you can see, there's these little green caps, and they come right off. And then I went ahead and put these on the 550cc injectors, and they fit now. So pretty hyped I got those in now. Don't have to worry about literally having about 2 pounds of boost and maxing these things out, because that's what they would have maxed out as. These things are super tiny. They kind of stink. So don't have to worry about that now. Got those in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, wire in the intake temp sensor. So one of the wires has to go to this one right here. It's a green with a little purple on it, and it's the last pin, the mass airflow sensor connector. So one of them got to tap into there. The other one goes to ground. It's pretty simple. And also finally went ahead and put in the exhaust. It's pretty hard to see, but it is in there. I haven't connected to the whole back yet. Probably gonna do that either after the intake temp sensor or later on, not sure yet. But the exhaust, at least the downpipe is in, so the O2 sensor's in and all that. So now I'm gonna go ahead, wire this thing in, make sure it works. All right, we went ahead, got it wired in, and I just ended up just using this as the ground point. Probably end up changing it later on to cover it up, but as you can see, there's pretty much stuff everywhere, and it looks kind of awful. There's hoses everywhere, wires everywhere, all that. I am gonna be cleaning that up, obviously, eventually, but just wanna be able to drive this thing out so I can finally tune it, and then once I can actually drive this thing, I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up the engine bay and redoing things. Like this wire here clearly needs some loom put over it. This is for a watt box I've had installed on the car for a while. I'm gonna leave the watt box in because I like the flat foot shift feature, and it also controls my nitrous in case I end up plugging this back in, the nitrous, which is also a cause of all these wires over here. a lot of this steel braided line and all that stuff is from the nitrous. So there's a lot of stuff that just is all over the place that I do have to clear up. But for now, pretty much everything is on that I can think of, at least. I'm pretty sure everything's together. I got power steering fluid in there, coolant, oil, all the main stuff I believe is in. And got my stock tires right here. I am going to be just throwing those 2 tires on the front because I'm going to get it R888s for the stock tires. Since these are 17s and I only have 18-inch rims other than these 17s, so I need a little bit more sidewall, so I'm going to be running the R888s on these rims. And I think I'm just going to buy 2, so I'll have 2 of the stock rims up front, and then I'll keep the basically stock reps that are 18s in the back. So they look a little goofy, but for now, that's probably what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these on now. I think I'm going to lower this thing off the jack. All right, so as you can see, this thing is on the ground, which is pretty cool to see. It's been a while. This thing's been in the shop for a bit. And just going to check, make sure my power steering line's going to clear, which it looks like it will. Shouldn't have any problems there. Goes right around the inner fender. But yeah, I think this thing might be able to pull itself out of here, which is pretty cool. All right, so I ended up going ahead and had to put the battery tray back in, so I went ahead and did that. That way, battery ain't going nowhere now. It's got the little bracket holding it on down there. Also went ahead and put this piece back in and the windshield wipers as well. So got this piece back in, all that under the hood. I think it's all done under the hood for now, until I end up going ahead and cleaning up all this hose and wire and stuff everywhere. Eventually I will clean that up, but for now, I think it's all set under the hood. And I also went ahead and put my interior back together. So I don't know if I showed you guys this before or not, but pretty much my whole interior was apart because when this thing blew up, I had put nitrous in it, and I pulled the whole interior apart to wire in those switches up there and a few other things for my watt box. I have a watt box in this. So center console, armrest, this whole section was out. Panels over there were out. The glove box was out. Pretty much everything was out of the main stuff. So I went ahead, put all that stuff back together. So the interior is finally back together and whatnot. And I think this thing is ready to drive now. Pretty excited. I also still have to upload my tune onto there. Not sure if it's going to run right on my tune. So I already got my tune set up here. I think it should start with this tune I made for it. Just set up the basic parameters. I'm obviously going to have to adjust the idle and all that stuff once the car is actually running. And I believe I have to upload it still, so I haven't uploaded it yet. But once I do that, this thing should fire right up. And this thing might be ready to go as long as there's no other major problems and whatnot. Another thing I did do was, since I tried to put the bumper on, I got to cut a bunch of stuff out of it to get it to fit on. So I went ahead and cut the inner fenders to right here because I figured once I'm driving, them hanging down here, it's probably going to rub on the tire. So just cut them out for now. I don't really care about them anyways. That way they don't rub and rip off when I'm driving. And eventually I will cut out the bumper to make it fit over the intercooler. But for now, I'm going to drive it like this. I think it should be fine. But I think that's going to wrap it up, though, for this one. Next video, I am going to start this thing. Hopefully it starts. Everything runs right. But, yeah, pretty excited. You guys got to stay tuned to see this thing fire up. It's going to be pretty exciting. Finally have my VR6 Turbo. I'm waiting a while for this thing, so it'll be pretty cool to finally see this thing run. And, yeah, it should be it. Peace.